Hey, everybody, welcome to Living in Color, real talk for Black women and women of color, where we talk about anything from family to finances to food. I'm your host, Erica Joy Schultz, a Black woman inspired and who hopes to inspire. I'm so glad that you're here today because we are going to talk about balance. So let's get it. Did you know that between 1997 and 2017, the number of Black women owned businesses grew by more than 600%, compared to just 39% for white women owned businesses and 114% for women owned businesses overall? I got that information from leanin.org. I find that amazing. I think that just really gives a testament to the drive that I don't know if it's instilled, if it's um, just a part of who we are, but it just shows that drive that Black women have. And these are, you know, not all of these Black women owned businesses are women entrepreneurs that are single or have no kids. Some of these women are doing it all. I'm talking superwoman. And, when you think about what it takes to run a business, to own a business, granted, there are things that you delegate and all that kind of good stuff, but that's a lot. I mean, if you look at any kind of research or what I wish I would have known before I started my business type of things, most people will tell you that, yeah, I own my own business, but I'm involved in that business 24/7. Apparently, from what I understand from people that own businesses, it takes years to get to the point where you are just cruising as the business owner, kind of high level managing while you delegate the day to days. Before that time, you are all in the trenches, giving your blood and sweat. So when you're talking about Black women owned businesses growing by more than 600%, you have to think about all the other things that affect us as Black women, women of color in entrepreneurship or even in the workplace if you're not owning your own businesses. A lot of times we're active in our communities as well as home, in addition to working, whether it's we're working for someone or we're one of these super women that are running our own businesses as well. If we're not running our own businesses, we're overrepresented in minimum wage jobs. We get hired and we get promoted more slowly. We're often the only Black woman in the room. I can attest to that, and experience a greater variety of microaggressions than women of other races and ethnicities. And Black women are paid less than men and most other groups of women. So you're talking about work life balance here, where a lot of times you're balancing your lifestyle, taking care of your kids, running your business, or going to work, making less than your counterparts. A lot of times when you are more qualified, but we're not going to run down that rabbit hole today. Again, we're talking about an introduction to balance. So let me get off of my um what is it called, a soapbox. Yeah, let me get off my soapbox because I was about to go in. Let's take a breath. So as you're listening, um you may be asking what these facts and some of these figures and some of the things that I'm mentioning have to do with finding balance. And what I'm trying to do is paint a realistic picture of everything that is involved, everything that we experience on a day to day basis, that we have to somehow carve out and find balance with. And if I'm being honest, I am not very good at it. Um, and I feel like there's probably a lot of you listening who aren't very good at it either, who are kind of used to burning the candle at both ends. Is that the saying? I really suck at sayings, so if that's not the right saying, you know what I mean. Um, so I'm just trying to paint a picture of the things that are involved in what we have to navigate before we can even try to find a sense of balance for ourselves. Not only are we talking about, these things that we're dealing with in the workplace or surrounding the workplace, but outside of the workplace. I mean, think about it. We're in the middle of a pandemic. Yes, I understand that people are vaccinated, the death rate has gone down, but the infection rate is starting to go up again. Don't come at me. I said what I said. And prior to that, in the middle of the pandemic really going in, we were dealing with an up an uproar of race relations. We face and are facing even more anti-black violence and behaviors in the middle of trying to navigate a freaking pandemic, okay? In addition to that, we're spending time taking care of our homes, our families. Notice I didn't say ourselves yet, right? In case you haven't noticed that, I'm pointing that out. I haven't said ourselves. What I've mentioned that we're taking care of our business, we're handling our bag, we're getting that, and we're taking care of that. We are managing our health and the health of our family and our friends. We are trying to remain safe amongst the racial anti-black violence and behaviors. And now we're talking about the home and the family. So one thing that there's a couple of things that I came across that I thought were pretty interesting, and I forgive me because I forgot and I didn't get to write down on my notes where I picked up this information, but more than three quarters of black women, 76%, are spending 3 or more hours per day on housework, compared to just over half, 55%, of white women. Now, compared to white women, black women are spending an average of 12 more hours per week caring for children and almost 3 times as many hours per week caring for elderly or sick relatives. I don't know what my white counterparts are doing or my white friends are doing, but I do know that in addition to me working, um, me creating and working on this podcast, that I'm taking care of a 16-year-old. And if you guys have teenagers, you know that they don't want to do shit. So while she does have, her assignments, so to speak, I'm the one that's really holding down the fort, and it's cool. I think that it's kind of like that in most households. But what I'm saying that to say is the 3 or more hours per day on housework. Mine isn't 3 or more hours per day because I break it up throughout the entire week. So every single day, I go from work to work to parenting. So, you know, and I know that I'm not the only one. And I know that you guys feel me out there. Um, I have family members that were responsible for caring for their elderly um, parents, because they were the ones that kind of fell on, not that there's hard feelings or anything like that, but somebody had to do it. And granted, while um, she may not have been working full time per se, she's got a very active lifestyle. Not only that, but she didn't even live in the same city. So it's a lot. And it's so easy. I'm sorry, this was a really, really passionate subject for me because I'm on a journey right now to course correct. And it can be very, very difficult to find that balance, that time for yourself to take care of yourself. And there's a saying, here I go with the sayings again, but there's a saying that says something about, or there's an idea that says something about you're not good to anyone if you're not taking care of yourself. I know I totally butchered that, but you know what I mean. If you're not taking care of yourself, what good are you to anyone else? If you're worn down, tired, weak, low energy, you're tired, you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, you're not giving your best self to other people if your goal is to give yourself to other people, right? It's important to me that we talk about this because I think that there's a lot of women out there that are very similar to myself in that you're so used to doing, and taking care of business, whether it's professional or the home or the family, that when you do decide to try and take some time for yourself, there's a sense of guilt there. You feel almost selfish when really you deserve it. Balance is necessary for your health. So that begs the question of where and when do we fit in to take care of ourselves? Or should I say, when and where can we fit in taking care of ourselves? Most of us, and when I say most of us, um, I'm talking Gen X, maybe some millennials and older, right? Most of us have been brought up to endure and cope. Um, you know, I think that kind of speaks for itself, but I almost feel like I have to expand on that. But we've been brought up to ignore the signs that our bodies are giving us when it's time for us to rest and powering through. How many of you have heard that? I'm just going to power through. How many of you have said that? I know I'm guilty of it and I'm guilty of doing it. And honestly, with death rates and our pain not being taken seriously by medical professionals, we need to take care of ourselves. It guys, this is something that is near and dear to my heart. And I think it's because I have only recently, and when I say recently, I mean this year, earlier this year. So maybe the last 6 to 8 months, I have been making a point to take care of myself mentally, spiritually, physically sometimes. I'm working on that consistency, okay? Don't come for me. But I have seen within that 6 to 8 months, I have seen the difference in what that does, right? I meditate every day, just about every day. And since I've created that habit, just taking care of my mind and taking a moment to be still, when I don't, I feel it. I am still practicing the resting when I need to rest without feeling that nagging sensation of I should be doing something. And that being said, it's about self-care. That's where we find our balance, is self-care. Some of you may have rolled your eyes because the idea of self-care is so you hear it everywhere now. And it's a real thing though. It's something that is not easy and something that's easily overlooked and put on the back burner. And just because racism, sexism, misogyny, and all the other isms aren't going anywhere tomorrow, we don't have to live in constant suffering of dealing with that, dealing with work, dealing with home, dealing with family, and all the other things that we're carrying on top of our shoulders. We, as Black women and women of color, don't have to constantly suffer. Self-care is for everyone. It's not just for the elites. It's not just for white people. It's for everyone, especially us, I believe. So when we're talking about self-care and wellness and healing, a lot of people overlook the holistic side of things. Holistic healing allows us to get in touch with ourselves and start to or grow in trust with ourselves. And what I mean by that is really getting into hearing and trusting that what our bodies are telling us is truth and what it actually needs. We need to take care of ourselves from the inside out. And whether that's meditating, which you can meditate in prayer, you can meditate in silence, you can meditate. There's a number of different ways. It's just about what works for you. Whether it's meditating, whether it's yoga, whether it's whatever the case may be. And yes, Black women and women of color, but Black women do yoga, y'all. Okay? I've tried it. It ain't no joke. But we have to take care of ourselves from the inside out. Now, all is not lost. The thing called balance in life is not the unicorn that it seems. Okay? It's all about making time and making a commitment. And next week, I'm going to continue our talk on balance by sharing some tips on how we can find a way by self-care. So, yeah, you don't want to miss that. I want to thank you for joining us this week on Living in Color. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any episodes. And also, while you're subscribing, if you like this episode or other episodes, please leave a review and or tell a friend because that really helps me out. Thanks again, guys. See you next time.